This is the quickest film I've ever made, and in some ways the easiest to make in terms of producing because I didn't have to raise money, but it's also the most secretive biography I had to make. With Moe Berg, he never did an autobiography. He was hardly on camera. So what I most benefited from is having those interviews from 30 years ago. The people he spied with and his brother, but I also have current day cousins talking about him. This is the 20s and 30s. He had done very well at Princeton. He had been a baseball player. And at Princeton, he got recruited, played for 5 teams, including the Red Sox and the Senators. And he was enjoying a very good career as a coach after the war, after his stint as a baseball player. You know, there came a time where we were very worried. We weren't quite in the war yet. FDR, President Roosevelt, wanted very much for us to get in the war, but there's a lot of isolationism in America, and he started developing this program, especially after Pearl Harbor, which was the greatest intelligence failure in terms of America, to try to develop a secret service of spies, and it was the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, headed by Wild Bill Donovan, who had been a hero in World War I, who, by the way, was advised and helped by Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond. I mean, you couldn't ask for more. And the kind of people that Bill Donovan chose were people like, before he became a Supreme Court Justice, Arthur Goldberg, John Ford, who was the very famous Hollywood director, Marlene Dietrich. They would get safecrackers out of jail. They would get people like Ralph Bunche, who later on won a Nobel Prize for being in the UN. The smartest, but yet the cleverest in terms of trying to do something to find out what the Nazis were up to, and literally be spies. And included in that was Moe Berg. He was brilliant, he was an athlete, and he spoke many languages. You know, so Moe would go to Europe under the guise of being a student, under all kinds of pseudonames, and he would first go to Italy once Italy got liberated and find scientists that we were worried the Germans were going to take up and help them. But the big get was trying to find out if Werner Heisenberg, who had won a Nobel Prize in physics, and we were very worried was developing, as I said, a nuclear bomb in Germany, and Moe was the one to go under a guise to hear a lecture of his in Zurich, and he had a gun in a pocket and a cyanide pill because if he was to possibly assassinate him. You know, there was so much death and destruction in my family's history that I want to present, you know, what can be our heroes? What are the kind of heroic things we can model each other? I know, especially for Rosenwald, people have said to me, it's really influenced the way I want to give, or the kind of giving. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to see Moe Berg and decide, well, I'm going to go, you know. We have a real problem with nuclear espionage today. I mean, what's happening in North Korea, what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Russia. So who knows if that's going to inspire people. I know that a lot of people have come up to me in the Jewish community and say, you make me really proud because you did this story.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And that makes me proud.